Hello, I am Sisi Lawyer, and this evening I want to talk to us about the place of our marriage vows, especially because a lot of us do not understand the difference between the legalities of marriage and the spirituality or the religious aspects of marriage. There are two different things, and we need to clarify that in our minds. Otherwise, we'll always think that our church is right and the law and the state is wrong. First of all, let me say this, that in our country here in Nigeria and in many countries too, the laws of marriage are the church. The church is an agent of the state in the issue of marriage. That means that when we actually get married in the church, it is the state that is allowing us to get married, and not the church. Even though they ask the church to celebrate the marriage or the wedding on their behalf. So that's why you must get a license from government before you can marry in the church. That is not the same, or I don't think it's the same for Islamic marriages, and that is not what I'm talking about here this evening. I'm talking here now about the validity or the implications of our marriage vows. When we make marriage vows, a lot of us not understand that actually under our law there are no marriage vows that are legislated. What does that mean? That means that those vows that we make either on the beach or in the church or wherever it is, there is nowhere in the law where it says we should make those vows. As a matter of fact, what our own law here in Nigeria says is that the two of you present yourself to the registrar, and you say, and he asks you if you are here to get married, you say yes, and the registrar tells you the implication of the kind of marriage you are entering into. Once you are told the implication of that marriage, then you are expected to just then say the registrar then asks that, do you understand it and are you in agreement with it? Once the two of you agree, that is the end of the ceremony. However, because of the fact that we here in this country in Nigeria, we love ceremonies, a lot of the time the registrars then turn it into a mini ceremony, and we say all those vows that are rarely have no backing in the force of law. Now, what are the 4 points that marriage vows should contain? Because they are the things that are important as far as the law is concerned. And for that reason, because we take those vows, you cannot just simply decide that you want to marry tomorrow. The first one is that it must have a start date. So let me use standard vows that we know, and it says, for I, Mr. A, takes you, Miss B, as my lawful wedded wife from this day forward. From this day forward means that it has a start date. So from the date that you have said it is the start date. That is a legality that must be met. You cannot just decide that you want to marry without a start date. Then of course you must take each other legally, meaning that you must be able to say that I have the capacity, I am not married to anybody else as at the date of this marriage, neither am I married to anybody under customary law. It also means that you have the age of consent to marry. You cannot marry in Nigeria if you're not yet 18 years old. And it also means that that person that you are wanting to marry is not within the degrees of affinity and consanguinity with you. What does affinity and consanguinity mean? It means that you're not related either by blood or by marriage to such a person. So for instance, a woman cannot marry her father's brother, or neither can she marry her husband's brother, because they are related by blood. The other thing under capacity is that you must have the age. You're not and you're not married to another person. The third point in terms of our marriage vows is that it must have an end date. Almost all marriage vows say, and I take you till death parts us. So that is the end date of a marriage, unless of course there's a decree of dissolution of marriage, in which case then the marriage comes to an end earlier than the death date. The fourth requirement is that there must be witnesses who must have been there when you both are giving each other your consent or your vows of marriage. Vows of marriage cannot be taken by proxy, as some people seem to think that they can do. You must be there physically where the two of you give each other those vows, exchange those vows in the company of at least a minimum of 2 witnesses. Where is the place of the wedding ring? There is no place actually for the wedding ring. And so sometimes I wonder these days with this new trend where people say that they want to renew their marriage vows. There's nothing like a renewal of marriage vows if it is for life. And then not only that, the law does not make any provision about the rings. So I've heard excuses like it's because the ring got lost and new rings, the priests want to bless the new rings. That's why they ask you to renew your vows. There is no such thing, and it is not a legal requirement. Until I come again, I'm going to be talking every time about issues of marriage, and I hope that you will continue to join me on this channel. Thanks for staying.